Ever feel like you're drowning in information? You just want the core, right? The need to know without all the fluff.
Absolutely. We all crave efficiency.
Well, today, we're diving deep into good laboratory practices, or GLP for short. It's basically like the bedrock of reliable science,
Yeah.
especially in fields like, industrial biotech.
Yeah, super important.
Our mission today is to give you that clear view of GLP, what it is, why it matters, and how it all fits together.
It's like more than just a set of rules. It's really a whole philosophy of building quality into every step of the scientific process.
So where do we even begin?
Well, everything starts with the Quality Assurance Unit, the QAU. They're the independent watchdogs.
Okay, so they're like the internal affairs of the lab.
In a way, yeah. They report straight to top management, not to the research team. That independence is really crucial.
Got it. Keeps things honest. So what do they actually do? Is it all inspections and audits?
It's a lot more than just ticking boxes. They scrutinize everything, evaluate the processes, and then, really importantly, they report their findings in a way that drives positive change.
So they're not just pointing fingers. They're actually helping things get better.
Exactly. And to do that well, they need proper resources, but also the authority and support from management to, make those changes happen.
Makes sense. You can't have a watchdog with no teeth. So they need something to check against, right? Some kind of guidebook.
Exactly. That's where standard operating procedures come in. We call them SOPs.
SOPs.
Yeah. SOPs are like those super detailed instruction manuals, step-by-step guides for everything, from how to use a piece of equipment to how you record data to, well, even how the QAU itself operates.
So it's like the recipe book for the whole lab.
Kind of, yeah. And the key is that everyone in the lab is trained on the relevant SOPs. And not just trained, but their adherence is actively monitored. And then the SOPs themselves, they're living documents, are constantly reviewed and updated as best practices evolve.
So they're not just set in stone, they actually adapt and change as needed.
Right. And then on top of that, you have a plan for each individual study, the study protocol.
So that's where the real specifics come in.
Yeah, think of it as the roadmap for the study. Crucially, it has to be written and approved before any lab work starts. It outlines everything: the goals, the exact methods, the test system, the doses, what data they'll collect, the statistical plan, even the timeline and who's responsible for what.
Wow, it's super detailed.
It has to be. And sticking to it is paramount. Any deviation, no matter how small, has to be documented, justified scientifically, and then approved.
Makes sense. You can't just go off-roading on a scientific study. So we've got the team, the rules, the plan. What about the lab itself, the equipment and all that?
Right. The facilities have to be designed and maintained according to GLP. Things like keeping different activities separate to prevent contamination, having the right environmental controls, proper waste disposal, all of that.
Sure. It's got to be a safe and controlled environment.
Absolutely. And then the equipment goes through a whole qualification process. So we're talking installation qualification, operational qualification, and performance qualification. We call them IQ, OQ, and PQ.
A lot of Qs. So that's making sure it's installed right, works right, and does what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. And that's just the beginning. There's also regular maintenance, calibration, cleaning, and all of that has to be meticulously recorded too.
Wow, it's really comprehensive.
Yeah.
So we've covered the people, the place, and the tools. What about the stuff they're actually testing?
Yes, the test and reference substances. They need just as much careful management.
I bet. So what does that involve?
Well, first you need to fully characterize them, know their identity, purity, and stability. That's all documented in a certificate of analysis.
Like a passport for the substance.
I like that. And then, of course, proper labeling, secure handling, controlled storage, all with detailed logs. Plus, you have to keep retention samples. Basically, representative samples that are stored away for future verification if needed.
Smart. Like a backup in case there are ever any questions later on. So all of that is really about making sure the data is trustworthy.
Exactly. We call that data integrity. It's absolutely crucial. Raw data has to be recorded immediately as it's observed. It has to be accurate, legible, and you need to know who recorded it. Traceability is key. You need to be able to follow that data point all the way from its source through every stage of processing and reporting.
Like a chain of custody for data.
Yes. And if it's electronic data, then there have to be secure audit trails that track every single change. And then robust systems for data storage, regular backups, secure archiving, all non-negotiable for protecting the integrity of the research.
Okay, so lots of safeguards in place. And then to make sure everyone is following the rules, there are audits and inspections.
Yes, absolutely vital. The QAU does regular internal audits of everything, ongoing studies, facilities, the whole quality system. They're making sure everyone is complying with GLP and following the SOPs.
Keeping everyone on their toes.
Right. And then the findings from those audits are reviewed by management, and any needed corrective actions are taken and documented. And then on top of that, GLP compliant facilities are also subject to external inspections by regulatory authorities.
So it's like a double layer of oversight. Makes sense. And of course, everyone working in the lab needs to be properly trained.
Right. Comprehensive GLP training is essential for everyone. It covers the basic principles and regulations, but then individuals also need training specific to their roles and responsibilities in the lab. And we're talking detailed training records that have to be maintained. And there should be like periodic competency assessments too, just to make sure everyone can actually do their jobs according to GLP.
It really is a whole system, isn't it? More than just a checklist.
Exactly. It's really about creating a culture of quality where everyone understands and embraces the importance of GLP, data integrity, and ethical conduct.
So it's like a mindset.
Yes. And it needs strong commitment from management. They have to provide the resources and create an environment where quality is everyone's responsibility. And of course, the whole system has to be constantly reviewed and improved.
So a strong GLP program, it's good for science, it's good for regulation, and ultimately it's good for everyone.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it underpins the quality and reliability of the data. It helps with regulatory approval. It promotes ethical research. And most importantly, it helps ensure that products are safe.
Wow. Well, in this deep dive, I think we've given everyone a much clearer picture of what goes into ensuring reliable research.
And maybe it sparks a question. How could those core principles of GLP, the clear documentation, the quality checks, and the well-defined procedures be applied in other areas outside the lab, to improve reliability and build trust in other fields? Something to think about.
Food for thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.